Hi, everyone. This is Elenbaas from Nightlight Astrology. It is Thursday, December 5th, and I'm doing a little weekend update for all of you so you know what's coming over the weekend. A bunch of lunar activity this weekend that's pretty dynamic, so we're going to cover what that is and just some of the basics so you can prepare and know what's coming. Before I do that, I want to remind you that I am in the midst of fundraising for the year ahead. At the end, last 40 days of the year, I always fundraise for the next calendar year of making daily content for all of you. We're at 259 backers on our way to the goal this year of 420. We're off to an amazing start. I'm hoping we could, is it possible that we could get to 300 over the weekend? That would be amazing. If you appreciate this work, if I'm someone that you tune in to regularly for astrological guidance, inspiration, whatever, please consider pitching in. When you do, you can pick up a reward reading. You can pick up, there's a bunch of different reward offerings. There's a mantra meditation video where I teach you how to do some mantra meditation. There's one that I do on lunar tracking. There's readings you can pick up. There's discounted tuition to all of my first, second, and horary year-long study courses, certification courses online. You can pick those up and apply them to any of my future programs. I run them twice a year. If you have any questions about that, you can always email me at nightlightastrology@gmail.com. Yeah, let's see if we can rally the support of 40 more backers and push that 300 barrier over the weekend. That would be great. So thank you all so much for supporting me. I really appreciate it. This is how I earn my living. And so many people are able to receive this information for free thanks to, a small group of my clients and readers like yourself, 400 or 500 out of thousands who pitch in and support my work. So thank you very, very much. All right, so let's take a look at this weekend's astrology. It's going to be a pretty short update. So I just want to give you a sense of where the astrological ball is rolling over the weekend. And the big story of the weekend is that we have a waxing gibbous moon in Aries over the weekend. And that moon is picking up the trine from the sun. So this is a waxing trine heading towards full moon. Waxing trines heading towards full moon. Here's what you can see it coming through right here. So here's the moon in Aries between now and later this afternoon. And, later on tomorrow evening, it will pick up the full trine to the sun in Sagittarius. Now, the reason that this is sort of a really nice energy is because, the waxing trine is of the nature of Jupiter. Trines in general are of the nature of Jupiter, and the sun is in Jupiter's sign right now. So there's a sense of expansiveness, good luck and fortune and confirmation and blessing and support built into the energy of the moment. That can go in a lot of different directions. Not all of them are great. Like they always say, sometimes you want to see some things grow, but you don't want to see everything grow. For example, you don't want a tumor to grow, but you do want your crops to grow. Simple example, but the energy of growth, support, development, and movement or momentum is in the air. And what you're looking at is a moon in a fire sign, Aries, Mars sign, that is action-oriented, picking up the trine to the sun in expansive Jupiterian Sagittarius. So that should be generally supportive over the weekend between now and tomorrow night, feeling it even into Saturday. The thing that we want to watch for is the fact that the moon is in Mars's sign. Mars is in Scorpio right now, so there's no real support between the moon and Mars, and that can mean sometimes that we're feeling that there's an aura of frustration. Tempers could boil over a little bit. Feels like, the cauldron pot might be shaking, the lid might be shaking a little bit as the water is boiling and more pressure is building. Generally, again, this is supportive. There's nothing super combustible right away. But that changes as the weekend goes on. When we get, first of all, between now and, tomorrow night, got a lot of support from the benefics, square to Jupiter, square to Venus, trine to the sun, picking up the benefics, picking up that support from the sun. But then look at what happens when we get into Saturday. So you go to Saturday, and on Saturday, pull it back a few hours here, Saturday morning, early on, the moon is going to be passing through a square to Saturn and then a square to Pluto. So the square to Pluto and the square to Saturn are more intense dynamics where there's heavier, more explosive. That is where frustration or where some theme of the momentum that's building could reach a kind of critical mass or breaking point, and you could feel or experience psychic tension in a number of areas of your life just kind of bubbling over. So watch for that Saturday morning. Then when we go forward a bit from there, the energy of, being a bit more combustible isn't over, because as soon on Sunday morning as the moon enters Uranus, enters Taurus, it goes into a conjunction with Uranus. That conjunction happens early Sunday morning. So you got Saturday morning with the squares to Saturn and Pluto, Sunday morning with conjunction to Uranus. That's disruptive. That's revolutionary. That's the unexpected. Could be a little bit more turbulent right now because Mars is still opposite Uranus in the sign of Scorpio, and then the moon goes right from Uranus and it goes right into the opposition with Mars, and that's going to happen late on Sunday night into early Monday morning. So that from Saturday morning all the way through Monday morning, there's a bunch of more intense lunar dynamics that come through. So it could be the tale of two weekends. I feel like between now and Friday night, there's a lot of really supportive, kind of bright, uplifting energy. You hit Saturday morning, the square to the malefics, Saturn and Pluto, and then you get into, or malefic Saturn anyway, and then you get into Sunday morning, the conjunction to Uranus, and then by Sunday night, the opposition to Mars. There's more at stake by the end of the weekend, and that's pushing us all the way into the full moon, where at that full moon moment, there may be something of a philosophical crisis that we're reaching. I talked about this and wrote about this in my monthly overview, but it's right about the full moon on the 11th that we're in the midst of a more serious conversation, debate, or discussion about beliefs, about spirituality, about philosophy, about the mind and rationality versus, the investment of ourselves into something that we've fully committed to and we believe in. These are kinds of conversations presented to us by the dichotomy between Sagittarius and Gemini, Jupiter and Mercury ruled sign. And in the meantime, over the weekend, we have, here you go, you can see right on once you go over the weekend hump, like on Monday, right after all of that kind of intense lunar energy comes through the weekend, Mercury enters Sagittarius, the moon enters Gemini and is now in the sign opposite to its dispositor Mercury. So the tension is really coming through around Mercury and Jupiter themes, which tend to have to do with, the sense of a certain kind of order and moral or spiritual or philosophical assuredness of that order, and then questioning, deconstructing rational, skeptical, critical thought, and how are those two working together, and probably in relationships, because Venus is moving through the conjunction to Saturn and Pluto at the same time. That's next week. My point is that the weekend is a prelude to those intense dynamics of the full moon. And it's really, you can see it, the shift that happens between now and Friday night, where things are really building and there's like a pot of positive momentum, but there might be a little tension underneath the surface that's developing. And then Saturday into Sunday, that tension grows and mounts and maybe boils over in certain ways. And then it leads to this very dynamic conversation that we're going to be having with other people, basically, as Venus goes through conjunction to Saturn and Pluto, and the full moon in Gemini opposite Sun in Sagittarius with Mercury in Sagittarius is happening. Deep conversations about values, beliefs, ideas, thoughts, debate, healthy, potentially very healthy, but also, again, potential for this to be a deeper and heavier conversation that evolves over the course of the weekend. So there it is. That's what we see coming. For example, I would say that, as some of you know, I'm receiving spiritual initiation from my teacher tomorrow night, and then I'll be given a new name. I'll be implementing that new name most likely over the weekend, letting you all know what my spiritual name is that I received from my teacher, and I can already imagine potential conversations with people in my life. You know what I mean? Like, so. It's one of the pieces of advice that I've given a few clients and that I'm kind of giving myself also, is that there's a lot of momentum, movement, action, development over the weekend. And then just knowing that there might be a certain kind of pressure and pushback around the positive momentum that we're feeling, and thinking, how can I deal with this really constructively without getting into some kind of slugfest with someone else, or trying to feel like, in order for this thing that you know, we might be pushing in a certain direction. The momentum is kind of the winds at our back, pushing us with this Aries, Sagittarius, waxing moon. And yet, you know, there may be some kickback. And just if you know that that's coming, you can be prepared to have peace in your heart, knowing that you don't have to take over the world to get the thing that to move through the next piece or the next leg of the journey. I think we make that mistake a lot, right? We tell ourselves that in order to get something done, I have to do it really intensely. Like, okay, here's a simple example. Like, okay, I've got half an hour and I know that it's a limited amount of time and I've got to get a bunch of things done in this half an hour. So then we go about, we sort of go, and then we go and do everything, like take the trash out, and I do this and I do, right? And what we forget is that we could have gotten the exact same things done in that span of time without bearing down and being so intense, which is what tends to create the underlying pressure and tension around us that then has some kind of feedback loop and presents us with an oppositional difficulty at some point. If I'm doing that, and then I walk in the door and my daughter's standing right there and I'm on a mission, I've only got 30 minutes and I'm not taking my time. Let's say I bump into her, she falls over, you know, starts screaming. My wife comes, "What are you doing?" And then I say, "I'm trying to get stuff done." And she's like, "Well, you could just be a little bit more peaceful." And then all of a sudden, that's a fight or something. You know what I mean? Like you know how these things work. They spill over like that very quickly. So the point is, a lot of momentum this weekend. Don't, you know, as I say sometimes, don't white knuckle it, because the potential for there to be an underlying pressure that's building around it is also there that could have some kind of feedback and present you with oppositional tension with others by like the middle of next week. So just something to, and it could develop even sooner than that on Saturday and Sunday. So that's the forecast for the weekend. A lot of other ways of looking at the forecast. Every astrologer kind of tells a slightly different story. I'd love to hear how you guys are working with these energies, or how you guys are experiencing them as well. Feel free to leave your comments in the comments section. And I hope you all have a very good weekend, and I'll be in touch soon. I'll be doing a video basically over the weekend, by the way, on this same note. You know, kind of introducing my spiritual name. Will be the astrologer formerly known as Adam. You know, probably in the new year, what I'm planning on doing is launching a private YouTube channel that will be available to people who are subscribers of my newsletter, which is free. You can go to my website and sign up for it. And you'll have like a monthly password to my private YouTube channel that you'll use in order to get videos that are more specifically about the intersection between bhakti yoga and astrology. I don't want to put those out there for everybody because I want to make some kind of interesting content for people who subscribe to my newsletter as an incentive, you know, just something fun. And then, but B, even more importantly, is that, you know, bhakti is like, people are coming to my channel, I know, to hear about spiritual things and astrology things at once, but getting into bhakti a little bit more specifically for those who are interested, I don't want that to be someone that's like something that's like pressed onto other people. So things that are more overtly about bhakti and people who are interested in learning more specifically about bhakti yoga and that path, and maybe even, you know, considering taking that on as something in their own life that could be helpful, or just learning more about it. I'm going to reserve that mostly for my private channel. I'll be doing a series on the Bhagavad Gita for astrologers. I'll be talking about, you know, different shastras and how they basically teach us to develop a spiritual practice to go along with astrology. It's my firm belief that you really can't have astrology being what it's supposed to be in your life without an accompanying spiritual practice. So this private YouTube channel will be dedicated to helping people who are looking for that to find it, if, you know, bhakti speaks to you. So that's what that'll be about. And I'll be explaining some of those things over the weekend as well, after I receive my initiation. So thank you all again for your support with the Kickstarter. Let's see what we can do over the weekend. I really appreciate your support. Thank you so much. And again, tell me your stories in the comments section. We'll see you again soon.